All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something really fascinating. We are taking a completely impartial, analytical look at a highly specific, super apocalyptic text. And just to set the stage right off the bat, all the content we're covering today comes directly from Zui Feng. He's the founder of the Life Shanyuan movement. We're going to unpack his September 2021 manifesto, which is called Warnings at the Last Moment. Now, our goal here isn't to validate these claims or debunk them. We're just here to unpack the incredibly vivid imagery and the really strict philosophical framework he lays out. Because as you'll see, this text is a sweeping, urgent directive to his followers. It lays out cosmic consequences, environmental anomalies, and this very specific path to spiritual survival. So get ready, because we are exploring a deeply esoteric worldview today. Okay, let's dive into this. Right from the opening lines, Zhu Feng establishes incredibly high stakes. He points out that he's spent 18 years showing humanity the path they should take. But, and this is a really critical shift, the era of hand-holding is officially over. According to the text, when people face this impending hardship, or even death, they can't go blaming God or saints or Buddhas anymore. The map has been provided, right? If you choose not to walk it, well, that's entirely on you. It's a classic way to instantly dial up the urgency. The window for just passively listening is closed, and the time for ultimate accountability is absolutely here. And all of that urgency points straight to this core concept, the Great Purification. In Zhu Feng's text, this isn't some metaphor or a distant, maybe someday event. It is imminent. He describes the Great Purification as a massive cosmic reset, a cleansing operation that actually isn't designed to save humanity. It's designed to save nature from human evil. And the text really hammers home how inevitable this is. You can't negotiate with it, and you definitely can't stop it. The Great Purification is essentially the engine driving this whole warning. It's the storm on the horizon demanding immediate, total behavioral change if you want any hope of surviving. So to understand how Zhu Feng tells his followers to prep for this, we first need to look at what he says is going to happen right before the storm hits. That brings us to Section 1, Signs of Purification, Nature's Warning. The text asserts that the Earth is going to start throwing out these intense, almost impossible natural anomalies. Zhu Feng paints this really vivid picture. We're talking floods drowning the deserts, snow falling in the tropics, brutal heat waves baking the coldest parts of the globe, and even black swans appearing in the most unimaginable places. He even mentions meteorites seemingly getting intercepted in the sky. But what's really fascinating here is why he says this is happening. Zhu Feng claims that Earth has these unseen guardians and managers. And these cosmic overseers, will they finally reach their absolute limit with humans destroying the environment? So these anomalies, they're the final warning signs before they step in to violently curb human sin. With all these chaotic signs popping up in the sky and on the ground, you might be wondering, how does anyone know what to do? Well, that leads us right into Section 2, the wordless book, Nature's Voice. And this brilliantly illustrates the main dichotomy of Zhu Feng's philosophy. He literally commands his followers to completely abandon what he calls the worded book. By that he means traditional scriptures, organized religious texts, human writings, the whole shebang. He argues that spending time reading those now is just a massive waste of precious time and energy. Instead, you have to read the wordless book. This book doesn't have any letters. It is made up entirely of the universe's phenomena, images, and natural events. To Zhu Feng, observing the changing states of nature is the true, unfiltered voice and warning of God. Building directly on that concept, the text demands a radical shift in what you actually revere. Zhu Feng instructs his followers to just stop worshiping any human-conceived deities. No gods, no Buddhas, no saints, and definitely no political leaders or so-called great men. Instead, total, absolute worship has to be redirected to the natural world. He says that by worshiping the mountains, the rivers, the earth, the insects, the grass, the sun, moon, and stars, that is how you truly worship God. It's this extreme form of spiritual environmentalism, where nature completely replaces the traditional religious pantheon. But just changing your reading habits and who you worship isn't going to cut it. Let's move into Section 3, False Paths, Ties to Sever. Here, Zhu Feng gives a really urgent list of earthly ties that you absolutely have to cut if you want to survive the coming crisis. Let's look at how he views material survival. The text completely strips away any illusion of safety that wealth might bring. Zhu Feng writes that chasing money is just utterly useless against the coming purification. And he uses this really graphic, frankly terrifying metaphor to drive the point home. He claims that even if you have hundreds of millions in the bank, and even if you lock yourself in the safest bunker on Earth, a fatal, unyielding pox will spontaneously break out all over your body, inside and out. He warns that anyone relying on their money is just going to lose their life in inescapable agony. Beyond just ditching wealth, there's this rhythmic, almost hypnotic repetition of do-nots in this section of the manifesto. Xu Feng insists you must not associate with power, because power is just a source of lies. You must not follow the general masses, because following the crowd is a one-way ticket to confusion and slavery. He strictly forbids consulting psychics. He compares that to blind gambling. And he warns that any secret, mystical activities are essentially ghostly and dangerous. The core takeaway here is absolute detachment from human authority and popular culture. To perfectly encapsulate this warning against false prophets, Xu Feng drops this incredibly striking traditional Chinese idiom, mud idols crossing a river. He uses this to describe all those self-proclaimed saviors, masters, angels, or grand religious figures who claim they can save you. Think about it. If a mud idol steps into a rushing river, what happens? It dissolves, it melts away. Xu Feng is warning that if you tie yourself to these false saviors, not only will they fail to save you, they'll actually melt away in the crisis and drag you right down into the pit with them. So if wealth, society, and traditional saviors are all doomed to fail, what is the actual protocol for surviving this? We find out in Section 4, Journey to Lingshan, Strategies to Survive. So the crucial point is how you actually navigate what Xu Feng calls the coming ocean of fear. First, he says you have to light an inner lamp. You have to let the divine reside solely within you rather than looking for it out in the world. Second, on a highly practical level, he advises finding exactly 3 to 5 true, like-minded friends to live and travel with, basically forming a tiny, self-sustaining pod to weather the chaos. And third, and this is major, even if you are facing extreme starvation and total desperation, you must never steal, rob, or harm life. Maintaining the absolute purity of your soul is prioritized over your immediate physical survival. Which brings us to what is arguably the most chilling, philosophically distinct claim in the whole text. Xu Feng writes that, sure, in the past, spiritual teachings relied on compassion, kindness, and love to save humanity. But that era is officially over. According to the text, human love can no longer save us. Instead, a systemic, totally automated program has been activated by the cosmic managers. This program doesn't care about human feelings. It is completely indifferent. Its one and only relentless objective is to save nature, and it will automatically spare only those who perfectly align with its really severe new parameters. So where are these surviving followers actually supposed to go? The text points them toward a single ultimate destination, Lingshan, or the spiritual mountain. It's presented as this metaphorical peak, and getting there requires relentless forward momentum. Xu Feng gives this harsh, almost poetic directive. You have to let the dead bury the dead. You can't look back at the devastation, and you can't even stop to mourn. Your singular command is to keep your eyes locked on Lingshan and march toward it, even if you collapse and die on the road trying to get there. It is such an intense, unyielding vision of the future. Xu Feng's manifesto strips away literally all earthly comforts, your wealth, your community, traditional religion, even human compassion. And it just leaves the individual, the unforgiving forces of nature, and this steep, lonely path up to Lingshan. It really forces us to ask, within the context of this apocalyptic framework, when the world seemingly falls apart around you, would you have the resolve to let the dead bury the dead and march endlessly toward that final spiritual peak? It's a profound, kind of esoteric question that lingers long after you finish reading. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time as we dive into another fascinating source.